Good day. During this time of pandemic, technology helped teachers in giving quality education. All teachers are equipped and knowledgeable in using technology. They design and innovate materials that can be used in teaching and learning process in the midst of this pandemic. Because of that initiative, the learners learn safely without fear of getting the virus. Furthermore, the advancement of technology pushed all the teachers to adopt the beauty of the online teaching as they continue to fight the unseen enemy, the COVID-19. As agreed by my student, the video conferencing tool that we will be using is the Zoom meeting. In designing a lesson, with the integration of technology, it is crucial to observe a framework that can act as a guide in its formulation. That's according to Hinrich and Smaldino in 2002. That's why for my lesson, I am guided by the Assure model. Assure model is a guide in crafting an instructional flow that can guide the teacher in integrating appropriate technology and media in the instructional process. It is also refers to a systematic approach that a teacher can use when writing an instructional plan. This model is composed of 6 essential steps in planning instructional theoretically. It is a mental framework that a teacher considers. The first step of this procedure is analyze learners. With the learner as the center of the instructional process, the initial consideration is to get a clear picture of the learner's learning styles, age level, interests or preferences, background, special needs, and also the cultural diversity. The second step of this procedure is state objectives. This is the main instruction guide that will direct the flow to reach the target, known as the learning outcome expected of the lesson. This statement describes what the learner would be able to perform as a result of the instruction. The third step is select methods, media, and also the materials. Selecting the appropriate way of delivering the lessons and using applicable media or technology can effectively make learners acquire understanding of the lesson or gain the competence desired. The teacher has to decide which strategy, material, or technology would be used considering the learners and the desired learning outcomes. The fourth step is utilize method, media, and materials. Having selected the strategy, media, and materials is halfway of the task done. Planning how to implement these entails a lot of consideration. Bearing in mind the learning outcome of the lesson, the teacher decides which part of the instructional flow will a particular material or technology be employed and the manner on how it will be more effective to achieve the learning outcome. The fifth step is require learner participation. Student engagement is an important element. The learners have to be made to understand their role in taking accountability of their own learning. Therefore, the teacher has to design sections of the lesson where the learners are guided to participate in and perform tasks with minimal or no supervision at all. The sixth and the last element is evaluate the student performance. Assessing learners' performance can take place across phases of the lesson. However, it is emphasized that the basic rule is that the evaluation should be congruent to the learning outcome provided in the lesson. Some learning outcomes can be sufficiently evaluated using a pen and paper test, but there are other learning outcomes that can be assessed by using rubric or having an aggregated write-up through the use of portfolio assessment. The teacher decides which is appropriate for the intention of the evaluative activity. As a teacher for 3 years, I am guided that before I will be having my class, I have to prepare a lesson plan. That's why I prepare this lesson plan for this topic. Then, make sure also, or I have to make sure also, that the objective I will be presenting the kinds of poetry according to structure, appreciate the importance of writing poetry, compose examples for each of the kinds of poem discussed. Now, the preliminary activities are prayer, checking of attendance, and setting of the classroom rules. After the setting of the classroom rules or standard, review comes. This part, the teacher will check if the previous lesson is understood by the students. The students will be asked of this question: what was our last discussion all about? Why review is important? According to NOBS in 2019, a review of previous lesson at the start of each lesson is one way to strengthen students' retention of knowledge. After the review, motivation comes. Now, in my motivation, I am using the Jamboard. Now, my instruction for this activity is this: what word that comes in your mind if you read and hear the word poetry? So the students will give their answer providing the concept map. So this one. Why we use Jamboard? Jamboard can be used to brainstorm and develop ideas. It can also engage students in problem solving and exercises. After the first activity, we will now proceed to the discussion. Now the teacher now facilitates the discussion. So my topic is kinds of poetry according to structure. Here, there are 4 kinds of poetry: the limerick, the concrete, the acrostic, and also the haiku. You notice I provided there the PowerPoint presentation. Of course, if you are a teacher, you have to prepare a PowerPoint presentation before your class. A PDF also is provided. Before our meeting, the PDF file is sent to my group chat in this class. Once I am done for the discussion, generalization follows. This is where question and answer is being done. The students will be asked of the following questions. Number 1, which among the kinds of poetry discussed is easiest to make? And the students need to justify his or her answers. And number 2, why do you think writing of poetry is important to you as a student? Once we are done with this one, we will now proceed to the next activity. This time, the grade 7 students will be divided into 4 groups: group limerick, group concrete, group acrostic, group haiku, and each group needs to compose a poem based on the name of their group. They will be rated on the provided criteria. Now, relevance of the theme, 50%, creativity, style, and originality, 30%, coherence of form and structure, harmony of words and presentation, 10%, and clarity of imagery and language, 10%, a total of 100%. Note, prior to this class discussion, the teacher already prepared breakout rooms. For each group, all groups are given 15 minutes to finish the given task. Once they are done, they have to come back to our meeting. Now, after the presentation of their poem, we will now proceed to the evaluation. The teacher will now be utilizing Google Forms. The Google Forms is an online tool from Google, which allows users to create forms, surveys, and quizzes. The link will be sent in the chat box. The students will answer, and once they are done answering, they can click submit. The students also can view their scores. After evaluation, the last part is the assignment. The students will look for examples of the poems discussed and ask them to compile all of those poems. They will submit their finished product in the Google Classroom. The Google code is provided here. Then why do we need to use Google Classroom? Remember that the Google Classroom can help facilitate online learning for digital learners. That's according to Sudarsana et al. In 2019. That will be all for today. Thank you so much, learners, and please enjoy learning during this time of pandemic. Please stay safe. God bless you all.